What's up guys? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. In this video we're going back down to Antarctica, not necessarily to look at this. We found this about 3 weeks ago on Google Earth down in Antarctica, where it looked like the melting ice may have revealed some sort of skeletal remains. Pretty obvious that there are skeletal remains here. Whether they were old or not was the mystery. As it turned out, a guy by the name of John shared an email with me, and he has a background in zoology, and here's the email that he shared. He said, "Thanks for your post on Antarctica. What a mystery." He says, "With a background in zoology, I was interested in determining the species of seal found in the photo. He had a closer look, and make a long story short, he determined that this was a leopard seal. But the thing of it was, like I had mentioned in the video as well, even if it were a seal, and I did mention in the video there was a possibility that this was simply a seal, but how did it get there? That mystified him as much as it did me. How did it get so far inland? Talking several miles away from water, and that would have been a very tough journey for a leopard seal." And John talked about that as well. It's like, how did that thing get so far inland? And not only was there one, guys, I ended up finding two more, because I looked around this whole area for several hours, just like John did, and we both found some areas that are equally, if not more fascinating than the skeletal remains themselves. Check this out. What you're about to see, what we found down here in Antarctica, is also visible in the northern hemisphere in places. Unbelievable. He goes on to say, your deduction of it being around 15 feet long is a good one in his humble opinion. He said he deduced it to be around 12 to 15 feet long based off of something else that he could measure nearby. And he brings up the point too, like I talked about, pondering how on earth a seal from the ocean would shimmy on the ground for 8 miles up an 1,100-foot mountain, and then shimmy another 22 miles down a long valley before it expired a mile away from a frozen inland lake. As I was scouting the area on Street View, I realized there was a path of photos taken by a human being walking in this area. He followed it for 3 or 4 miles away from the carcass. Could someone have dropped off the leopard seal carcass for it to slowly decompose for a year or so for the mystery photo to appear on Google Earth? Or maybe they have thunderbirds down there in the mountains that could have moved it. That was one thing that I mentioned too multiple times. How did the thing get there? That's a long way away from water. He goes on to say he found some really astonishing, what appear to be mud rock formations in this area, and they are indeed quite spectacular. This is just one area of many. Not far from the leopard seal. Looking at this area here, and I've got photos to share with you guys. This is where I found what looks like a statue. I'm not saying 100% that it is a statue of a person, but it does look like the upper torso of a human being. We're going to look at that here in just a moment. We're looking at some sort of incredible rock formations here that have obviously been disturbed. They're kind of littered all over the place. Some of them are broken. If you look real closely, some of them have what look like geometrical shapes on them. You can see the person here taking the photo. There's his shadow. On this rock right here, you can see a hollowed out circle. Quite possibly two, but this one down here below, the bigger one, is much larger. You're going to see some areas in the northern hemisphere over in Turkey. Those were used for steps to climb up into caves in areas that look very similar to what you're looking at right here. So it makes you ask the question, was this at one time a village like we see in Turkey and in parts of eastern Persia still to this day? And this one here just happened to get bulldozed by a very large iceberg over the millennia, and this is what's left. Maybe this was up just high enough to where the iceberg that went through this valley didn't disturb this completely. The rest of it got all chewed up. But here's what looks like the human statue right here. See right there? Buried in the sediment. Doesn't that look like the top half of a human? You've got the head. You've even got what could be portrayed as hair, shoulder, arm, back, neck. I mean, you've got the upper half of a human being right there. And if you look around and pay close attention to detail, you can see all these rocks with these little holes in them, little cubbies, some that look like steps, as you're going to see over in Turkey, in an area that looks somewhat similar to this location. I stayed at this location because this area was hard to find. I found it, I went and looked at another area, and I had a hard time coming back to this area, so I stayed here for this video presentation. But if you look around in this area, and right here are the coordinates, you can see 77, 31, 53, and then 161, 68, 89. That'll take you to this area, and if you just follow this trail back, you'll see many more rock formations, much like this, some with even more personality. I'm going to show you some photos right now taken from this area and a few miles away. These rock formations are scattered out all over the place along this trail. Here's yet another one. You can see those look like big pillars standing there. Here's some more rock formations, rocks stacked on top of each other. Here's some more unique rocks. You got these unique indentations on them that you'll see structure over in Turkey that has those little cubby holes or whatever. You can tell those were used for steps to climb the rocks to get up into these caves that in some cases are still being used to this day. Here's some more that have obviously been disturbed. They've fallen over, and in some cases they're broken. But again, you can see the little holes here and there, the pigeon holes. I think those at one time in the northern hemisphere, those were used for, like I said, steps, as you're going to see right here. Here's a location over in Turkey. See the similarities? See the rock? You're going to see one balancing on top in Antarctica, just like you see over here in Turkey. And see the steps? See right there? See those things that look like little pigeonholes right there? There they are. This is Antarctica right here. Here's another rock, just stacked on top of many other rocks. More pigeonholes, a lot of times used for climbing, just like you see over in Turkey. Those are steps. Those help you climb that vertical wall and go into that cubby there, over here, over here. Just all kinds of examples of these ancient ruins that are in some cases still being used to this day. There's one over in far eastern Persia. Here's another one out of Turkey. And just imagine if an iceberg went through there and broke all those up into smaller pieces. Well, you'd probably have something similar to what we're seeing down here in Antarctica. These are photos from Antarctica. There's another one from Antarctica. And then back to Antarctica right there. Obviously, those have been disturbed. Now we'll go back over to the Middle East. Here's another location. See what I mean? This is a photo that's not that old, from Britannica. That's 700 years old. They've dated this back to 700 years old. And in some cases, these are still being used sparsely, but they still are. See the similarities to that location and the location down in Antarctica? Obviously, this is a different color, but some of the locations in Antarctica are nearly the same exact color. See there? Almost the same exact color. So what a stunning coincidence. Here's some more photos from the northern hemisphere. You can see these old villages scattered out through Persia. See the cubby holes? See how they look so similar in nature? They're still occupied to this day. Not by a lot, but in some cases they are. And it just makes you ponder the question, what are we looking at here? Is this an old village dating back hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, that managed to partially survive the melting ice flow that went through this valley right here, leaving behind the top half of a statue of a human being that's sticking up out of the sediment down in Antarctica? Is that what we're looking at here? You know, it very well could be. Who knows? I mean, it is at the very least quite a fascinating place. You guys can find this location on Google Earth at the coordinates in the description box. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.